Rar, rar.
If you ever find yourself in Ballantyre and you're looking for car accessories, or a locksmith, or want to have keys cut, I can definitely recommend Divine's Expert Hardware. Mind your head before you get in. And so after this shameless plug for the family-in-laws, I am on my way again. Just after purchasing some steel wool and some metal polish. And do you think I even got a discount? No. Do you think I got paid for this promotion? No. But if I want a cup of coffee, it's always going to be there. So, there you go. Now, on to more pressing matters. So first point on the agenda are saddlebags. And with the removal of the original baffles and the installation of the AEW 201s, we can finally fit some nice looking saddlebags. And it is basically killing two birds with one stone. Because another item on the Interceptor 650 that I find out of place and out of time are the shocks. For some reason it doesn't spell 1970s classic Brit bike to me, those shocks. So that's a good opportunity to hide them with these saddlebags, which after some treatment with some leather conditioning really look well on the bike. Which brings me to point 2 on the agenda, and that is the name of the Interceptor 650. Now there's a bit of a history to it, because these bags were actually the Mrs. bags, and she used to drive around on a 125 cruiser called Aragorn. Now, personally, I find that a little bit too of a pretentious name. I think the head of the Interceptor 650 is big enough. So I decided to tone it down a little bit, and we're just gonna call him Strider, just to keep him a little bit more humble. So now that we know Strider's name, and we had a good look at the saddlebags, it is time for the open road and the next agenda points. So we come to point 3 of the agenda, and that is the installation of the Powertronic Fuel X module. Now what does it do? From what I understand, it kind of communicates and piggybacks on the lambda sensors, giving you a little richer fuel mix. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but it apparently is self-learning. And as the results, I can say that it seems to run a lot smoother at lower RPMs. Now I had no complaints about driving the bike in low RPMs. Around 2000 RPMs was about the lowest I could get it to, and it would putter away quite happily. But I've noted that after installing the Fuel X, I seem to have like a little bit more power in the lower RPMs. And that for the puttering around is just absolutely perfect. Because I don't want the bike to go faster, it goes fast enough. But it does seem to address a few flat spots in the lower and mid-range RPMs. And overall, the bike seems to run a little bit more smooth. So, I'm really happy with that. As we are testing it, we're going uphill in low RPMs for our first stop, which is the blue light. And it's a perfect spot to grab a cup of coffee before we head off to other directions, where I might talk a little bit more about agenda point number 4. And now we're up to agenda point 4. I have to say, I've been through a couple of quite stressful weeks. Ever since my company, my place of work, announced that they were going to cut off 15% of the workforce worldwide. And of course, Ireland was affected as well. So I'm not going to go into much detail on how it was handled and by whom and name names and blame blames, but it suffice to say that it was not a very pleasant experience. And although I've been through redundancies before, when you are 57 years of age and you hear that your job might be onto the chop, you're not really looking forward in dragging yourself up into the employment market again. So it was a wait and see game to see if you were affected, all while going on this consultation period, and everybody waiting for that one email to say you're impacted or you're not impacted. Luckily this week the bullet left the gun, so to say, and I learned that I was no longer potentially impacted. Although they left a little caveat in the email saying like, this is a provisional decision, we might want to come back on this. Oh my god, no more. So I decided to take a week off and just leave all this stress behind me, because there's nothing you can do about it and you just have to let it go its course. But in terms of probability, I mean, things look a lot better than they looked a week before, because when there was so much uncertainty going on. So I can imagine for anybody going through these circumstances, it is just tough. And that is exactly the reason why I find that just going onto a drive is just the best therapy for me ever. So I don't want to meander too much about the stressful period that hopefully is now behind me. And I want to look forward to the road in front of me. And I think we need a bit of music to get out of this gloomy agenda point. So, here's my favorite independent artist, Brennan Hart. And there's more to come. So stay with me.
And I'm losing my mind, but I'm seeing things clear.
just like that, the cobwebs, they just blow away from my mind. Just meandering down this beautiful road where I have no destination in mind. Just cruising along. And as I was just sputtering around in the low RPMs, I was kinda hoping to come across a chance encounter. Just to share the road for a couple of minutes. Like, you're not the only one going through this journey. And you're not the only one seeking the open road. And just as I finished that thought, well, I was served immediately. So I found myself trailing a Royal Enfield Classic 500, and it was a beauty. And it was perfect for the occasion, as I wanted to test out the low RPMs with the Fuel X of Powertronics, and everything just felt right in the world. At that moment, nothing really mattered. It was just the perfect time and the perfect place to have this chance encounter. And a little bit further up the road, managed to stop next to each other and glanced appreciating looks at each other's bikes.
Yeah, I got another one, the same one, 500. Brilliant. This made for this. Yeah. Same to you. Go ahead, go ahead. He's gorgeous. I love the color scheme, the red. Yeah, I love the color scheme.
The colours, yes, the red
Yeah,
and gold. It's nice.
you've got a prettier bike.
Well, I like the orange too. It's a classic sort of, so it's classic.
Yeah. It's more like 50s style. Like I've got the limited edition Pegasus, the Army edition.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, lovely bike.
Nice too.
It's all you need for roads like this.
Yes, I'm trading down, so the 350 is perfect as well.
Yeah,
That's 650, is it?
yeah.
Can hear that extra little bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit more oomph to it. Yeah.
Enjoy anyway.
Cheers.
And it is chance encounters like this that really make my day. Even just like a brief chat at the lights, sharing each other's appreciation, and enjoying the road. And it really doesn't matter to me if you're on the 350, a 500, or a 650. I actually enjoyed hanging back of this classic 500, and it just like made the highlight of the whole trip.